Greetings, Glitter Gang, and welcome back to Kathryn Scraps Live. My name is Kathryn, and today we are going to be working on our Christmas in July project, which we will be continuing until it is done. It is a, does it have a name? It's a December Daily Wallet album, apparently. Good thing I know what it is. Good thing I know what it is. I'm, just got to make it. So basically where we left off is we had our sort of proof of concept sample made. All right, so the question was, we did all the planning. Oops, you don't belong here. All right, we did all the planning and everything in our planning episode. By the way, there is a YouTube playlist with all the videos that we've done so far in this series, and that will contain the rest of the videos in this series. So, that's there on the channel. You can go take screenshots, write down measurements, whatever you want to do. So we planned everything out. We did our brainstorming session. Then we did our sample does it work session, where we created this. So this is the wallet. All right, so it's got a flap that goes, a strap more like, that goes through these loops on the back. It's got a pocket in the front. On the inside, it's expandable, so you can stuff it if you need to stuff it. It's got a pocket there, and then these are 3 graduated pockets. They're each a different size because they each go all the way down to the bottom. And then on the back, once you release the strap, you can flip it up, and there is a pocket right here for more things. And then once you put the strap through those loops, then it's done. So what we're going to do today is we're going to do the construction of wallet version 2, which is the version that you would want to bind. Okay, so this version has to be unbound because, as you can see, it's just a freestanding wallet. So at the end of the project, these are the ones we're going to be making in the decorating portion of the class. At the end of the project, what we're going to do is we're going to put these all in a box. So it'll just be like a box full of wallets, and you can put as many wallets in as you need. And kind of the idea of this project is that you would make one of these for each thing you did in the holiday season. So not necessarily one for every day of December. You don't necessarily need, 31 of them for every major thing you did that you want to remember, that you want to record, that you want to save souvenirs from, whatever. You can make one for that day, put the number on it of the day if you want, and then go from there. You can also put other things in your box, of course, tickets, receipts, individual photos, whatever you want to do. Okay. All right. So that's what we're going to be doing for most of the series, for the construction and the decorating and all of that. So today what we're going to do is we're going to talk about what if you wanted to bind them into a book, how would you do it? So that's what we're going to do. So that's wallet version 2, which is down here. All right. So it has slightly different measurements from the rest of it. We're going to leave some stuff off, in that I'm not going to do like the loops in the back and all of that. I'm not going to do the pocket on the front. None of that is different. I'm just going to show you this wallet base piece. So that's the single sheet of cardstock that forms the, the thing that everything's attached to. I'm going to show you what differences there would be for if you want to bind it either with rings or a book, and I'll explain how you would bind it with rings or a book. Okay. All right. So that's what we're doing today. So I'm just going to use craft cardstock for this because it's a little bit easier to see on camera than some other colors. And, we don't want to use up our olive on stuff that's not ultimately going to go in our project. So, okay. Now, according to this, we need one piece that's 12 inches by 7. And what I'm going to do is just cut that, and we'll talk about how that changes what we're going to be doing a little bit. Okay. So previously, we scored it down the middle and a 1/2 inch on either side. And we are going to do that, but we're also going to score a 1/2 inch on either side from that. So because this is 12 inches, it's pretty easy. The middle is 6 inches. Okay. So we're going to score at 6, at 5, and at 7. Okay. At 6, at 5, and at 7. And then we're going to flip it end over end and score at 5.5 and 6.5. Okay, now we're going to fold along all these score lines and burnish. And we're folding back and forth. So it's a little bit of like an accordion. Okay. Happy Thursday, Glitter Gang. I hope you're all doing well. I know we just kind of jumped right in here. We all had a great weekend and a great week ahead. All right, so here's where the big difference is. So this piece right here in the middle, this is where you're going to put your binding material, okay? So if you compare it with this one, all right, in this one, you just have that one little tent in the middle. In this one, what we're going to do is we're going to flatten this over the binding piece so that it'll still close. Where does it close from? Maybe, oh yeah, it'll still, okay, I was holding it backwards. Oh, no, was that? Okay, we have a little bit, what do I want to do here? This is not going to work the way I imagined. So now, see, this is why we have to do this. So now let me think about what I want to do instead. Because if I still want it to be expandable like this one is, I'm going to need some wiggle room. But if I stick this down onto the spine, is that too much wiggle room? Is there such a thing as too much wiggle room? I guess is the next question. It's probably fine, huh? Okay, let's not worry about it. All right. Okay, everyone. I just want to make sure everything is going okay. If everyone who is here could post a 1 in the chat, that would be great. So just post a 1 in the chat. Post a 1 in the chat, please, because I am not sure my stream is working correctly. So I have a bit rate warning. All right. So, okay. So if everything is good on your end, can you now post a 2 in the chat? So if you can see here, video is working just fine. Everything is all good. Post a 2 in the chat, please. Alright, looks like everything's fine, so I'm just going to ignore this bitrate warning. Okay. Alrighty. Okay, so my idea was that we would put the binding in here and then close this around the binding so that this would be more or less flat. And then these little flaps would still give you a little bit of room to expand. But because they have to, I'm trying to think if there's a better way to do the expansion, because it's always going to try and be kind of close flat because they are going to run, they're not going to expand basically because they run up straight from the back of the binding. So now what I'm trying to figure out is how to do the binding. And I think the way we have to do it is we have to do this in 2 pieces. So, okay. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to have a left side and a right side. So well, let me think. Yeah, because see, I need a way for them to expand off the top of this, which is really what's kind of, instead of off the bottom. See how when it's closed, they're going to be expanding off the bottom of that fold? I need them to expand off the top of the fold. So what I'm trying to do is think about how to do that. So when we make our 2 pieces, what we want is a piece that's this and a piece that's this. So let's see. So rather than do one 12-inch by 7-inch piece, it's really 2 that are 5.5 inches by 7. And then how do I want to do attaching the whole thing to the piece? Because we'll have, here's what I'm trying to figure out. You know how when you have your binding, okay, and you have your little fins that stick up, your binding fins, how we're going to stick them onto the top, the tip of the binding fin is what we're trying to figure out, okay? So normally we stick things to the bottom of the binding fin down here near where it attaches to the binding itself, to the spine itself. But this book needs to be stuck to the top. So that's all I'm trying to figure out, is how we would do that. So I think what we need to do is actually make these 6 and give ourselves an extra little 1/2 inch to attach to our binding fin. So they're 6 by 7. All right. Okay. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just quickly make a binding piece. Okay. We'll just give it 3 fins. Of course, I could just solve this problem by saying we're just going to make wallets. Forget everything I said about I'll show you 3 different ways. That may be what we end up doing. Just for like time's sake. All right, so we need 4 of these to make 3 binding fins. 1, 2, 3, 4. You always need 1 more, then you have pages or fins. Okay. And then this piece, because it is 6 inches, is the correct size. So I'm just going to cut it in half, or because it is 12 inches rather, is the correct size. So I'm just going to cut it in half. All right, so now I have 2 6-inch pieces. All right. Okay, so now, whoop, and I'm just going to use ATG because this is pretty much going straight in the recycling bin. But of course you would use whatever you would normally use for binding would be best. And then you attach them score line to score line. These are not going to have a gutter because I just was going really fast. So, but this is mostly just to show how it's going to work. So if we don't have a gutter, it's not a big deal. Okay, so all right, so here's our fin that we're going to attach this piece to. And so what we need to do is just simply attach it to the top like this. All right, that way we still have the expansion if we need it. Before, it was going to be like this, and so what was going to happen is this was going to fold closed. Okay, do you see? So the way it was folded before, when it was all one piece and we were going to stick that piece over the binding fin, what was going to happen is, because this fold would be at the bottom, when it was closed, there would be no room for expansion, not really. So the problem is we just need a way to get that at the top, okay? And so that way we do have room for expansion because the expanding part is above the line. Does that make sense? So that's all that we're doing. That's the only change. So it's actually not that bad. And so then all you need to do is just take your fin, line it up next to your score line, and press it down. And then get your other fin and your other piece, and then make your score lines match, and then burnish. All right, and then it's going to sit up. All right, and so now we can fold it back like this, but if it gets thicker, it has room, it can poof out. Okay, so it's now folded back down onto the fin, but if it needs to expand, it can expand because it expands up above the fin. Okay, does that make sense? If you're in the chat and that does make sense, type a 3 in the chat. Type a 3 in the chat. Okay, so that's the difference between this one, which is not getting bound at all. Okay, so this one is the one that we're actually going to be doing. It's not going to be bound at all. All right, so this one, and this is our wallet with strap. Okay, we're going to make a box and we're going to put all our wallets in it. So what we've done is we've added an inch to this spine here, okay, and 2 more 1/2-inch gussets. All right, so that 2 of them can attach down to the spine, and then 2 of them can expand. So in order to get that extra bit, okay, so to maintain the expansion, all right, that's what we have to do. We have to have it come down. Now, of course, this is a sample just to show you how you would do it. If you don't want to do the box version and you want to bind it into a book, so this is not obviously like your spine fin should be the same size as your wallet, etc. Like, you know what to do. I know you know what to do. So, but this is how you would do it. And then if you wanted to bind these with a ring, what I would suggest is just attach a piece of chipboard. Attach these to a thin piece of chipboard like the cereal box weight. So sandwich the chipboard in between them, and then just put pattern paper over the whole thing and put your rings, and then that'll be your decorative border. Okay, so if you don't want to do a fin style binding, if you don't want to use like the infinity binding or the split decision binding or any of those, if you want to do chipboard with rings, okay, which you might want to, because since this is a December daily, you maybe don't know ahead of time how big you need to make it. You don't know how many pages you're going to need, you know, that sort of thing. You might want the flexibility of rings. What you would do is say, take a 1-inch piece of chipboard, again, lightweight chipboard, like the cereal box weight, attach this strip to the chipboard on either side, and then put a 1-inch strip of pattern paper over it to cover, or even take a 2-inch strip of pattern paper, fold it, and slide it down over, and that way that'll give you a clean pattern paper folded edge here. That's probably the way to do it. And then glue that on, just glue it on, and then you can punch your 3 holes and you can do it that way. Okay, so that's the modification. So rather than have a 12-inch by 7, that's not what we want. So originally we said for version 2 we wanted a 12-inch piece. It's actually 2 6-inch by 7-inch pieces. So because you have to invert them. All right, so it's 6 inches and it's scored at 5 and 5.5. So you score it at 5, and then you flip it over and then score at 5.5. Okay. All right, so you score and then you flip it end over end like this, so that that 5-inch score line is still, that you just scored, is still on the 5-inch line, and then you score at 5.5. All right. Okay, so that's the only change you need to make. So let's go ahead and scratch out that. Everything else is the same. Everything else will function exactly the same. So the tutorial from the previous video in this series, which showed us making this one, that one is still accurate. Okay, so that's how you make the modifications. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a recording break here so that this modification is all on its own video, and then in the next video I'm going to start the construction of the wallets in the cardstock that we're ultimately going to use. I'm going to show you how to make the templates for things like cutting this hole and all of that. So we're going to go through all of it. It's all going to be, you know, it's all going to be detailed. Measurements will be given, etc., etc. So, all right, so that's what we're going to do. So those of you watching live, just hang tight. Nothing's going to change for you. If you're watching in the archives or in the YouTube playlist, just click ahead to the next video. And if it's not there, if there's no next video, if you're in the playlist, then just hang tight for a couple days and it will show up. It will show up. Okay. All right. Thanks so much for watching. And now we're going to get started on actually making the wallets. And we're going to do, what did I say, 6 wallets? I think. So I think we're going to make 6 wallets for this project. So again, thanks so much for watching, everyone. Be sure to check out the YouTube playlist. I'm live on Thursdays at 2 p.m. and 9 p.m. and we're going to be continuing this project until it's done, fully decorated, and ready to go for the holidays. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye now.